Hello, beautiful people. How are all of you doing today? This is a pleasant day. And when I say pleasant day, I mean actually incredibly unpleasant day. We have had bad news, chat. We have gotten some awful fucking news. Things are not looking good for Nod Krai already. This is not a good start to the region, okay? Here's why, alright? Let me pull this shit up real quick. I gotta figure out which one it is. Oh, wait, where is it? 6.0 artifact. Yeah, there we go. Okay, this shit is not good, alright? This is bad. So let's read the new sets, alright? So, 2-piece, 80 EM, normal 2-piece. Okay, cool. 4-piece. When a party member triggers a lunar reaction, if the equipping character is on the field, the equipping character gains Moonshine A for 4 seconds. When the lunar phase of the team is Crescent/Gibbous, the equipping character's crit rate plus 15 plus 30. And then for every different type of Moonshine the party member has, all party members' lunar reaction damage increases by 10%. So basically, if you have one character on this set and one character on this set, you get 20% reaction damage for lunar charge. So supposedly, Crescent Moon and Gibbous Moon effect can stack. So it's 15 plus 30 and 60 plus 120. And this is tagged as reliable. What do you mean Nod Krai characters get 45% crit rate? That's not okay. What do you mean? What the fuck, man? Where does 45 come from? This leak says they stack. So it's not 15 on Crescent and 30 on Gibbous. It's 15 from Crescent and then an additional 30 from Gibbous. But the thing is, unlike the old crit rate sets, this set also has an insane other effect of 10% reaction damage. Dude, 6.0 set if 45. Instead of 95, it's 80. Instead of 56, it's 90. And we get 0.1 here. 50% stronger than no set. 20% stronger than Marie-José. Almost 30% stronger than Gilded. I really hope that fucking quote-unquote reliable leak is just fake and that they don't stack and that this is 60. Because then this is like slightly better than the initial leaks that we had, but it's not that much better. Anyways, yeah, I don't know if the triggers, if equipping character is off field, also works on the first part of the effect. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows? But anyways, this is fucking insane, by the way, if it actually is 45. Oh yeah, I guess this one says if it's on field. That's true. Oh well. So I guess it doesn't work on Inefa, huh? But it'll work on Flins. Anyways, next thing I want to look at is Aino. I haven't looked at Aino's kit yet, but I heard people say it was good. So let's take a look. Okay, elemental skill. Thought Catcher. Throws the Thought Catcher forward, dealing hydro damage and pulling Aino towards the target location. So it's a dash. Upon finishing the movement, deals AoE hydro damage to nearby enemies, and you can aim it if you hold. Burst. Throws specially designed super water spraying device Chill Out Duck to deploy a targeted water cooling zone. While active, Chill Out Duck intermittently fires water projectiles at nearby enemies, dealing hydro damage. Okay. Passive. Modular high-efficiency operation. When Aino is in the team, she provides bonus effects based on the team's lunar phase. If the lunar phase is at least Crescent, her burst is enhanced. Chill Out Duck fires water projectiles at shorter intervals and the AoE hydro damage is increased. Additionally, while Aino is in the team, the lunarity level is increased by 1. I think this is just the lunar phase level. Structured Power Boost. Aino's elemental burst damage is increased by an amount equal to 50% of her elemental mastery. That's kind of dog shit. Unless it hits really often, this is like awful. 50% EM scaling is nothing. And okay, she detects Nod Krai regional specialties. Constellations. C1. After casting skill, Aino gains 80 EM, whatever. C2. While burst is active, if Aino is off field, it fires additional water projectiles. This projectile deals AoE hydro damage based on 100% of her EM plus 300. This is no damage, but it's 1 extra application every 5 seconds. That's cool, I guess. Why do people say she's good? So far, that doesn't look too good. C3, skill level, no, burst level. C4, when Thought Color hits an enemy, he restores energy. That's not that good. C5, not that good. C6, for 15 seconds after casting burst, current active nearby character gains 15% increased damage for the following reactions. Electro Charge, Bloom, Lunar Charge, Lunar Bloom. And if you're Crescent, these reactions gain an additional 20 damage bonus. I see. That's why. That's why people say she's good. Yeah, okay, I get it. I get it now. That's why. Oh man. Bro, her application and her damage better be good, because otherwise this is the sort of character that is completely worthless until C5 and then at C6 becomes actually good. Oh man. Oh man. Oh well. 5.0 artifacts added to Strongbox, but no Long Night South. No! GG. Look at this. this in a minute. New IT rewards. No, sorry. New theater difficulty. There's now a new difficulty for IT that has 12 fights instead of 10, and you need 28 characters to enter this one. Amazing. Amazing, dude. Jesus Christ, this is terrible. And then new rewards is Primo Gems for the first time clear. Okay, that's fine though. But also an additional 200 every time. And you get a Sanctifying Elixir. Oh, that's bog. Lauma full kit. Actually, before we look at that, Lunar Bloom mechanics. When Dendro comes into contact with Hydro under a specific condition, a special Lunar Bloom reaction is triggered. On top of the normal Bloom effect, the reaction also grants the team a valuable resource called Dendro Dew. Certain characters can consume Dendro Dew or use their own talents to deal Lunar Bloom reaction damage to enemies. This damage can crit. Alright. Lauma has a special charge attack. Activates Spirit Shift. Lauma transforms into the Spirit Envoy of the Silent Grove, sprinting for up to 10 seconds at the cost of stamina. During this state, Lauma has increased interruption resistance. She can perform up to 2 consecutive jumps by consuming additional stamina. When it ends, it goes on cooldown. I don't really get what the point of this is, but okay. Elemental skill, Hallowed Hymn, Eternal Slumber. Silently chants an ancient hymn and summons the Frostgrove Sanctuary. The different effects based on whether the skill is tapped or held. Tap. Chants the Prayer of the Hunt, dealing AoE Dendro damage. Hold, can be cast when Lauma has at least 1 Dewdrop. Consumes all Dewdrops to chant the Lullaby of Eternal Rest, dealing 1 instance of AoE Hydro damage and 1 instance of AoE Dendro damage that is treated as Lunar Bloom reaction damage. For each Dewdrop consumed, Lauma gains 1 stack of Moonchant, up to 3. Additionally, when her skill or Frostgrove Sanctuary hits enemies, their Dendro resistance and Hydro resistance are reduced. Hydro resistant reduced. Alright, you guys are seeing Dendro resistance and you're like, oh my god, I heckin' love Nilo. I'm hearing Hydro resistant reduced, and I'm thinking, oh, Nefilet is so barack, dude. Holy. Dude, Hyperbloom Nebulet? Ho ho ho! Ho ho ho! Elemental Burst! Hallowed Hymn, the moon of many hearts. Let the wishes of all beings become the moonlight that illuminates the land. Lauma chants a sacred hymn of the far north and gains 18 stacks of Pale Hymn. If Lauma has Moonchant when casting Burst, or gains Moonchant within 15 seconds of casting it, Moonchant, quick reminder, is what she gains when she consumes Dewdrops on her hold skill. And Dewdrops is something you gain by triggering blooms. She will consume all stacks. For each stack consumes, she gains an additional 6 Pale Hymn stacks. This effect can trigger once per burst, and once again within the 15-second window after. Okay. When teammates trigger Bloom, Burgeon, Hyper Bloom, or Lunar Bloom, 1 Pale Hymn stack is consumed to increase the reaction's damage, scaling with Lauma's Elemental Mastery. If multiple enemies are hit, stacks are consumed based on the number of enemies. Each stack has an independent duration. Now, the interesting part here is this means that she's a character whose EM matters even as a trigger, which is pretty interesting. That means you definitely build her full EM no matter what. Is Dendro back? We still don't have the numbers, so we don't know, but maybe. Light of the Frosty Night, Moonshine Crescent. Bloom, Burgeon, Hyper Bloom, and Lunar Bloom reactions triggered by the party can crit with a fixed 15% crit rate and 100% crit damage. This crit rate can stack with other similar effects. Within 20 seconds after casting skill, Lauma grants the following bonus depending on Moonshine level. If the Moonshine is gibbous, so if you have 2 or more Nod Krai characters, Lunar Bloom reaction dealt by the party gain 10 crit rate and 20 crit damage. So by default, her presence in the party increases Dendro Bloom related reactions damage by 15%. And if she is paired with another Nod Krai character, instead of 15, it's 30, because 15% chance of 100 increased damage is 15% more damage, and 25% chance of 120 increased damage is 30% more damage. 3. Cleansing Waters of the Blessed Spirits. Each point of Lauma's EM provides 0.04 damage to Frostgrove Sanctuary up to 32%, which means this caps out at 800 EM, and minus 0.02% cooldown to Spirit Shift up to minus 20%. This one caps out at 1,000, but that's kind of weird. Why do you care about Spirit Shift cooldown? That's her exploration ability. Moonshine's Blessing, Grace of 1,000 Voices. Convert Bloom reactions triggered by the party into Lunar Bloom. Increases the base damage of Lunar Bloom based on Lauma's EM up to 14%. Chat, I'm gonna be so for real with you guys right now. Lunar Bloom sounds like it fucking sucks ass, okay? Because unlike Electrocharge, you actually have dedicated Hyper Bloom triggers. So current Hyper Bloom, you actually do, build full EM on your characters. But here's the thing, okay? Changes to Flowers of Paradise Lost artifact set. Unlike Hyper Bloom that gets its damage increased by 40%, Lunar Bloom gets its damage increased by 10%. This strongly hints at the EM scaling for Lunar Bloom being the same as the Lunar Charged EM scaling, which is much, much, much worse. And critting isn't enough to make up for that, especially crit rate. So here's the thing, okay? Pretty much the only way that they make Lunar Bloom really good is by Omega boosting the base damage, which technically is possible, I guess. But I don't know what to expect. Check her signature. Sure. Anyone want to link it? I can't be bothered trying to find it. I found it. When skill deals Hydro or Dendro damage, the equipping character gains EM for gains 60 EM. When nearby characters trigger Lunar Bloom, the equipping character gains 60 EM on scripture. When both effects are active at once, all party members' bloom damage is increased by 120%, Hyper Bloom by 80%, Lunar Bloom by 40%. That's weird. This isn't that good, by the way, chat. The Hyper Bloom 80% damage is nothing. Maybe the Lunar Bloom is good, because maybe for Lunar Bloom you build a lot of crit somehow. I don't know. But like on full EM, 80% on transformative scaling is nothing. It's like about 12-13% increased damage in practice. Like it's not actually nothing, but it's not worth a signature in 2025. But on characters where you don't build 1000 EM, on characters where you build a lot of crit, 40% Lunar Bloom damage will probably be a lot more significant. Still 400 EM? I mean, sure, I guess, but like, meh. Look at her C2. C1, after casting skill or burst, she gains an effect. While active, when a party member triggers Lunar Bloom, it heals the on-field character based on her EM. Whatever. That's actually completely dog shit. Wow, nobody cares. Jesus Christ, that's awful. C2, Ode of the Sacred Moon. Enhances burst, Pale Hymn. Bloom version of Hyper Bloom damage, gain an extra bonus equal to 500% of Lauma's EM. That's probably flat damage post EM multiplier, right? So it's probably not that much, right? Because base damage for Hyper Bloom is what? Hyper War. 43, 41? Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. However, Lauma also directly buffs Hyper Bloom by giving it the chance to crit. But for the rest, you're right, yeah. There's additional Lauma kit details. Maybe we'll take a look at that then. No, that's not additional details. That's just, we got this before the full kit. Anyways, so you're at like 1000 EM with flop, base, damage, EM multiplier. Flop is what, 80%, right? It's like a 16% DPS upgrade to your Hyper Bloom damage if it works like I expected to. So it's pretty dog shit, actually. Like, it's not completely dog shit, but it's not very good. The good part of it is if you use her for Lunar Bloom, because for Lunar Bloom, you get an effect that's probably fairly analogous, right? Fairly similar, but you additionally get 40% reaction damage. So it's a massive difference. Anyways, can her C1 replace the healer slot on Nilo teams? Maybe. Probably. C4, when attacks from her off-field skill hits enemies, she restores energy, whatever, who cares. C6, when Frostgrove Sanctuary hits enemies, it deals additional instances of AoE damage, treated as Lunar Bloom reaction damage. This damage scales off of 320% of Lauma's EM. Does not consume any Pale Hymn, but instead grants 2 stacks of Pale Hymn and refreshes the duration of Pale Hymn. Trigger up to 8 times. That's kind of crazy, right? Like that's a lot of like buffs that stack with one another, right? Like your EM you end up with her Seg 265. 120, 187 times 3. She's probably EM Ascension, about 100 in substats, and you give her... No. Lunar Bloom, when you have a Lauma on the team, and probably Aino too, you will... Bloom is transferred to Lunar Bloom, but only if the Bloom explosion happens. Like, the Bloom core works the exact same way, but if you let it expire, or if you have the Bountiful Bloom from Nilo, like, when it explodes to deal damage, it's Lunar Bloom instead of Bloom. Anyways. Plus, what is it, 80 from the set, right? And then does she get any EM to herself? No, right? EM multiplier for Lunar Bloom will be probably same scaling as Lunar Charged. That's what seems to be the case. But we also get, if you have Sig, 40%. We also get another 40% from C2. Is that it? Another 14% base damage. So 1.8. And then another 0.2 from Flop. So 2 times 1.14. The crit is fixed. So crit multiplier is going to be 1.3, which means that the C6 damage itself, which is one of the few numbers we already have, damage, going to be motion value. It's increased by the C2 probably, so that's 250, and then another 320. So 250, 320, which means the damage of the C6 will be motion value times EM times EM multiplier times crit multiplier times 1.1 for res multiplier. Oh, there's another fucking 25% damage here. So 52k from the C6 procs. That's not that much, actually. She also shreds Dendro, does she? Or is that? Oh yeah, but we don't know about how much yet. That's true. That's less than I expected, honestly. Although, wait, there's no limit to this one. Oh, never mind. That's probably kind of good, huh? We'll get to the rare lo-fi playlist. You know what? Sure. Maybe it's times 3 as well. Oh, you're probably right, actually. Since it's direct talent damage, it probably is times 3 as well. So it'll be 150k on each proc, 8 procs. Yeah, that's a lot, actually. And then it can get its damage increased by Nilo, too. But we don't know by how much yet, right? Yeah. I mean, this is C6 stuff. Like, who cares? But the thing is, it's the only numbers we have, right? Everything else on the kit, we don't have the numbers yet, but the C6 numbers we have for some reason. Fucking annoying as hell. There's a second page of details. Is there? Oh, there is. But this doesn't say anything. She casts burst. This doesn't say anything. This doesn't say anything. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's really hard to evaluate Lauma until we have any actual numbers. It says app is every 2 seconds. It says hits are every 2 seconds. That probably means app is every 2 seconds, but that's not guaranteed. Why does she buff both Bloom and Lunar Bloom? That is a good question. I don't think it's possible to trigger non-Bloom. Actually, no. It is. Is it not? Because Lunar Bloom only happens if you have dewdrops. Is it not? So if you consume dewdrops from her passive, like for other things, you lose the dewdrops effect for the bloom. That is kind of a cool thing, though, I'll say. That's a cool idea. Like, I'm really worried when it comes to her power level and her balance. But, like, design-wise, I think her kit is really cool. Like, actually a really cool kit. Chat, you guys are thinking, oh no, Zajef thinks it's cool, the Zajef Curse is gonna activate. It won't. Zajef Curse doesn't work anymore, because they don't release bad characters anymore. Every character is power creep now. The Zajef Curse don't work no more. Did that to Aoife. 4 stars and standard characters are not included as actual characters. They were clearly never intended to be good. Last bad limited character? What was the last bad limited character? Was it Sijuin? Yeah, it was. Is Lauma, Nahida, Sainso Raiden really the new best Hyperloom team in town? I'm not sure. Honestly, my expectation is that the best Hyperloom team will be Lauma, Inefa, Sainto. I don't know who the last Lauma will be. I don't know if Nahida's better than a second Hydro. Depends on Lauma's app. Why Sainto? Because Sainto's Hydro is fucking... Sainto is by far the best Hydro applicator in the game. If you have characters that scale directly from the amount of Hydro application you have, like Hyper Bloom characters do, it's kind of goated. Although, Inefa does have slower Electro than Raiden does, so maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. It doesn't sound like Lauma provides a lot for all Hytham. She does shred Dendro Res, but we don't know by how much yet. Anyways, last one we look at is Flins kit. So, Versa 2 Electric Boogaloo, yeah. Archaic Refrain, Lonesome Lamp's secret. Flins has a dirty little secret. Flins channels the ancient power sealed within his lantern, entering Shadow Flame manifestation mode. Oh my god. I don't think you're supposed to build Shadow Flame on Thresh, though. True! Sorry. With the following properties. Normal and charge attack deal electro damage that cannot be overridden by infusions, and he cannot perform plunging attacks. Why can he not perform plunging attacks? I don't know, but who cares? Flins gains increased interruption resistance. His elemental skill is replaced by the Northern Pike Array during this mode. Northern Pike Array unleashes a formation of spears ahead, dealing AoE electro damage, and for 6 seconds transforms Flynn's elemental burst, Old Right Midnight Guess, into Thunderous Symphony. Base cooldown is 6 seconds and cannot be altered by cooldown reduction effects. Why? Dude, why can we not have nice things? What the fuck do you have against Thundering Fury, Hoyo? What the fuck do you have against TF? Dude, what the fuck do you have against TF? Whatever. It's fucking pissing me off, but it is what it is. Anyways, Elemental Burst! Old Right Midnight Guess unleashes the true power of Flins' Lantern, dealing AoE electro damage, followed shortly by 3 instances of Lunar Charge reaction damage treated as electro AoE damage. Moon Phase Gibbous, if Thundercloud is nearby, Flins deals 2 additional instances of Lunar Charge damage. If Northern Pike Array was used, so if you're using the mini burst instead, right, you get Thunderous Symphony, a low-cost alternate burst that deals 1 instance of electro charge damage treated as Lunar Charge damage. If Thundercloud is nearby, it deals 1 extra instance of Lunar Charge damage. Depending on the team's current Moon Phase, Flins gains to follow his buffs. Yeah. Anyways, Gibbous. Flynn's Lunar Charge reaction damage is increased by 20%. So if you don't have 2 Nod Krai characters Flins' numbers are worse for no reasons. We love that. Whispers of Shadow Flame. Flins' elemental mastery is increased by 8% of his attack, so he wants to get to 2k attack, same as Inefa. Moonphase's Blessing. Hidden Legacies. When any teammate triggers Electro Charge, it is converted into Lunar Charge, and the base damage of this reaction is increased based on Flins' attack. So, same effect as Inefa, literally. 14% Lunar Charge damage. That's it. That's his kit. I'm gonna be fully honest, chat. This is so fucking disappointing. This is so disappointing. Like, we're not talking about numbers, right? We don't have numbers yet. He could be fucking better than Mawika, right? But kit design-wise, this is so fucking disappointing, right? This is a character who, right? Like, what does his kit do differently from other characters? He has Lunar Charge damage instead of direct talent damage, which is, I mean, it's different for what you want to build, but it's not different for gameplay, right? But it's still a difference, so that's nice at least, right? That's one factor that separates him from other characters. He has reliance on Hydro, unlike all the other Hydro characters, or on all the other Electro carries. He has an infusion, but most likely his infusion will be dog shit, because it doesn't say it increases the damage, and the damage by default is probably not EM scaling, and this is probably a character which you build like hybrid attack EM, kind of like vape carries, but the EM doesn't increase the damage of his attacks. It only increases the Lunar Charge thing. We have his signature as well. Let's take a look at the signature, right? For 3.5 seconds after using Burst, Lunar Charge reaction damage is increased by 36%. Additionally, when you trigger a Moon reaction, crit damage increased by 28% and restores 12 energy. Does anyone know why you get crit damage for 6 seconds on a 14-second cooldown on something you can't even entirely control? Because I don't. That's fucking stupid as hell, but whatever. That's cool, I guess. Fun. Oh, never mind. I'm an idiot. The energy restoration can occur. I'm an idiot. Sorry. Okay, so it's 36 reaction damage bonus and 28 crit damage. This is less than Inefa's Sig, but it's in line with other carry Sigs, I think. We don't know how his ER requirements are going to be, so we don't know exactly how relevant the energy restoration is, but we can compare to other weapons. Do we have base attack yet? Probably not, right? No. But we can assume it's going to be around 330, because most characters are around there. 340 maybe. So we can look at an energy restoration weapon, right? We can look at Kitane. Kitane is 565. We can look at a weapon that doesn't have energy restoration. So we can look at Fjords, and we can look at Sig. We'll look at Slav Scarlet Sands later. Attack percent, so probably 46% times 2. Actually, you probably go attack EM crit, don't you? I don't know, maybe. Maybe not, actually, because you get EM from Inefa EM sharing. Ugh, whatever. What team do you do with him based on this? Definitely Inefa Sucrose Hydro, but what Hydro? Dude, Sucrose stocks are going fucking off the rails right now, by the way. Aino? I don't know if you're going to want to use Aino. I feel like Aino without C6 is probably completely worthless. But I guess every Hydro is worthless, so you'd still use Aino. You need Aino for +2 Nod Krai. You don't need +2 Nod Krai, do you? You just need 2 total. Does Inefa count? Inefa should count, right? No, it doesn't say so on her kit. Yeah, but maybe it doesn't say so on her kit because right now it wouldn't do anything if it did say so. Right? They didn't implement the moon phase mechanic yet, so they wouldn't have to put it on the kit even if it does work. Inefa has a line in her passive saying that more will be discovered in Nod Krai. Okay. Then that's definitely implying that it will work. Do you realize an Nod Krai character need not carry the new artifact? But why wouldn't you use an artifact that is incredibly fucking wildly broken, though? I haven't talked about the second set yet. I haven't, you're right. We can talk about it very quickly. Second set, when dealing, it's ER 2-piece, and 4-piece when dealing elemental damage, gain Moonshine B. That Moonshine B gives you EM based on the moon phase. So 1 Nod Krai, 60 EM, 2 Nod Krai, either 120 or 180. We still don't know if that how that stacks, right? There's a league that says that it stacks, like that both of these numbers stack together. I think that's fake as fuck, because there's no goddamn way in hell that's true, because it would be way too fucking broken. But they do explicitly say that it does in the leak. I just think there's no fucking way, and we're probably being lied to, but it was tagged reliable, but there's no fucking way. I think if it was true, there's no way Flins would have a crit rate weapon. It would be crit damage for sure. Or EM or attack. It would not be crit rate. Look at Flins' cons. I guess I haven't looked at his cons. Reduce cooldown of the special skill to 4 seconds instead of 6. Fuck you. TF does that. Why can't you let me use TF? Whatever. When team triggers Lunar Charge, restores energy. C2, within 6 seconds after using his special skill, His next normal attack does extra lunar charge damage. That is not a lot. That is not a lot. This number is low. While Flins is on field, his electro attacks reduce the enemy's electro resistance by 25. Ah, that's why the number is low. Okay, yep, okay, makes sense. C3 increases Old Knight Midnight's Guess. That's burst, level by 3. C4, increase Flins attack by 20%. EM gain from passive is slightly increased. That's not good. What the fuck? 60 EM, 20% attack from a C4? That's kind of pathetic, dude. What the hell? C5 skill level. C6 increase reaction damage and increase team reaction. That's bad. What? That's a bad C6. What the fuck? Oh shit. Is he a standard character? Oh no. Oh, chat! Chat! No! No, 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 no! Oh shit! Okay. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's look at how good his sig is. So, we said... I mean, fuck. Let's assume we're doing Aino. Why not? Does she have anything other than her C6 as team buffs? She doesn't, right? Fucking worthless-ass character. That's crazy. Jesus Christ. She better have good numbers, man. On the EM set. I don't know if you have her on the EM set or if you have Inefa on the EM set. Because Inefa can't proc the new set, so it won't actually be good on her. And keep Inefa on TOM, maybe, yeah. I think the EM stacks if you have more than one? Probably not. It'd be really funny if it does, though. Based on these leaks, what's the verdict on Inefa, skip or pull? We still don't have the numbers, so keep an open mind. Flins and Lauma have big issues right now. No one to use DPS Nod Krai set and Lauma teams. Poor res red options in Flins teams. What do you mean poor res red options in Flins teams? Sucrose exists. Sucrose is insane for lunar charge teams. And for Lauma teams, you just put people on flop with someone on the new set. It's not 60 or 120. It's 60 or 60 and 120. But that I feel like is sus as hell. But even if it is 60, 120, right? Even if it is just 120, you have to understand, one, it's a 5-star set, not a 4-star set, so the character that wears it can still actually build the stats they want to build. You don't sacrifice personal damage on a 4-star set like you do with Instructor. 2, it's not reliant on the character triggering a reaction, which actually can be a problem in a lot of teams. You just need to apply element. Also, there is a chance the effect can work while the character is off field, right? Because the first artifact set actively says if the equipping character is on field, but the second one doesn't, and it says that one of the effects can trigger if the equipping character is off field, but it doesn't specify that it's only this effect, so I'm not sure yet, but yeah. Anyways, and for now, we'll assume C6 Aino. Fuck it. C6 Aino on the new set, Inefa on TOM. Why not? So 20%-ish attack from subs, 20 from TOM. That's it. It's not it. I lied. 48 from Sucrose. Elemental Mastery. So we have around 180 from Sucrose. We have 110 from Ketane. We have 6% of about 2400 from Inefa. We have, yeah, this is always going to be maxed out, 160 from Flins' passive. Is EM better than damage percent here? We don't have the numbers yet, so maybe not. But if he is indeed focused on lunar charge damage, damage percent doesn't apply to lunar charge damage. So yes, it would be. Anyways, Ketane, yeah, multiplier would be 1.28 times, oh yeah, I forgot substats. About 100 in substats. 6 times EM divided by 2000 plus EM plus 1 point, right? 20% from this. That's it. You release your set, we can use preset teams on the biz. That's actually a great change. Honk. Crit value 98.4, 62.2, 20 times 6.6. That will be all. I forgot the EM from the set. For now, we'll assume 120. I feel like there's no shot 180 is real, man. It can't be. I refuse. Anyways. Ballad of the Fjords, we don't have Ketane's EM, but we have the Ballad of the Fjords EM instead. Also, we have 27.6 CV times 2. And Sig, we don't have Ketane EM. Instead, what does this Sig do again? 36 lunar charge damage and 28 crit damage. Plus 0.36 plus 22.1 times 2 plus 28. So without looking at energy requirements, what the fuck? Did I fucking add one too many zeros somewhere? No, it's just Jesus Christ, yeah. How's that multiplier higher? Because you get 36 multiplier directly from this. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so without looking at the ER changes, it's about 30% better than R1 Ballad of the Fjords, 24% better than R5. I suppose you get a lot of EM, so maybe Ballad of the Fjords isn't the best option, though. Let's look at Deathmatch. How much is it? 36.8, I think? Yeah, Deathmatch is a little bit better. Oh yeah, although Deathmatch plus the fucking set bonus. Wait, I didn't give him a set bonus, did I? Oops. Again, I'm gonna assume that they don't stack, and it's just 60. And the upgrade from Ketane is 50%. Fucking hell. Yeah. EM multiplier from the set. I had already included that. I just forgot the rest of it. Try Jade Winged Spear. It's made for emo boys. That's true. That's so true. I mean, Sig is about 16% better before looking at ER changes. Try Staff of Scarlet Sands. Bro, Staff of Scarlet Sands is so cringe here. Because, like, none of the buffs work with each other. The attack Flins gets... Wait. The EM Flins gets from his attack doesn't increase the attack he gets from Staff of Scarlet Sands. And same for Inefa. And it also doesn't work the other way around. It's so fucking cooked. But I mean, we can still look at it. 542. Oh, and you're so... you don't even... Oh, wait, never mind. Okay. So, I guess... Can you go EM? Yeah, okay. We still get to 2k without attack sands. Bet. Okay, bet. That means we go EM crit, probably. Oh, we gotta figure this shit out, man. What was the 180 from? That was from... What was 180 from? That was Sucrose, right. Okay. So, this is Inefa's buff. This is his own buff. This is... substats. This is the set. This is his set. Then we have 187 times 2 from EM. Okay. And then the amount of non-recursive bullshit he has for EM would be this. No, it also won't work with Sucrose's EM. It'll be 50 from this. So 724. And then his skill does not deal damage when you use it. So you don't get a stack from that. You get one stack from the first special skill, and then another on the second special skill, and another on the third one, right? That's kind of unlucky, huh? You can't really stack it properly. But technically, if your setup is less than 10 seconds, you can start fully stacked on the next rotation. Maybe. I don't know how realistic that is, though, but anyways. So for the first one, you have 1. For the second one, you have 2. For the third one, you have 3. So it's an average of 2 stacks, which is 52 plus 28 times 2. So 108. 108 of... 724 is 780. So let's just add 750-ish, whatever. Actually, let's do it properly. 108% of this minus 160 minus 6% of 2400 minus 130 from Sucrose. That's the 780 we had. And finally, we have the crit value changes. So before looking at energy, it's like 4% lower than Sig. But 1, good luck not overcapping crit. And 2, we don't know about energy yet. And with energy, things are going to change probably. Oh yeah, I do wonder how good the craftable weapons are going to be in Nod Krai. Maybe the gap is going to be a little bit less because the craftable weapons are better. There's also that. How crucial is Inefa looking? I mean, we can take a look at how his effective attack changes if Inefa's not on the team, right? So if Inefa's not on the team, but you still have Aino, you don't lose the stack, at least. If you're using, like, Fischl instead or some shit. We don't have this EM anymore. We don't have this anymore either. So his personal damage is a little bit less than 20% lower, but you also lose out on Inefa's damage. And in these teams, Inefa's damage will be probably a little bit over 30k DPS. Missive Wind Spear. We can take a look at Missive Wind Spear. Missive Wind Spear. So just looking at damage without looking at energy. Missive is just a little bit behind the Battle Pass weapons. Okay, that's good. I'm actually kind of curious about something. This is 33.12. Yeah, it's worse with the M-Sands. Okay. What I thought, but I wasn't sure. What about this? Also worse with the M-Sands. Okay, but that's just because we get a fuck ton of external EM. Alright, pretty much all the good stat stakes on him have EM. He gets a decent amount of EM from his own kit. The new support set gives EM, and Inefa gives EM. And on top of that, we don't have a good Shredder attack buffer. The only good Shredder buffer that we have for him that's actually good is Sucrose, and that's another big-ass EM buff. And his 2-piece is also EM. Yeah, like, just by default from existing, he gets 160 from his own passive. He's gonna get 6% of Inefa's attack. Even on a really low attack Inefa, you still pretty much always want at least 2k. Right, you get 80 from his own personal 2-piece. You get 120 or 180, but probably 120 from the new support set. And you get, 180-ish from Sucrose. And that's before looking at his EM from substats or from weapons. And he's already at 6.6 just for existing. So in most teams you don't want... No, Limbo, that's not personal DPS. We still don't have motion value. This is just effective attack. Thank God. Yeah. What about Dragon's Bane? Dragon's Bane will be ass. Multiple reasons. 1.0 weapons are not good, okay? Something you'll realize if you look at new weapons and old weapons is that the amount of stats provided by most 1.0 weapons, right, is just not a lot. Right, you look at Rain Slasher, you look at Dragon's Bane, you look at these weapons, right? Weapon main stat and substat are always balanced the exact same way. It's been the exact same since 1.0. We've had new types, but it's still balanced the same way, right? It's weapon types have can have low base attack, mid base attack, or high base attack, right? Which for 4 stars is 454, 510, 565. And the amount of the substats you get depends on whether you had low, mid, or high. And if you had low, you'll have a high substat. Every 454 base attack weapon with EM substat has 221 EM. Every 510 base attack weapon with EM substats has 165, which is 3/4 of 225. And every 565 base attack weapon with EM has 110, which is half of 221. And they're all balanced the exact same way. Since then, they've added a new type of very high, 620. And at 620, it's balanced to be half of the 565. So 1/4 of the 454s. So the EM ones will be 55, right? Which is what Ali Flash gives, I believe. Yeah, 55. So all you need to look at for how weapon power has progressed over the years is the passive effect. And if you look at the 1.0 ones, stuff like Lion's Roar, for example, 20 to 36 damage percent. And damage percent is generally balanced with similar numbers as attack percent. Damage percent tends to be a little bit better because it's available from less sources, because you can't get it from substats and most main stats, but it's balanced the same way. So 36%, which is about 3/4 of a main stat. If you look at new weapons, what's a new weapon we can look at? I mean, fuck, Eshu, right? 40 damage percent, which is more than 3/4 of a main stat, and 16% crit rate, which is more than half of a circlet. So it's like basically 1.5 main stats worth of stats. You look at Finale of the Deep, right? It's flat attack, which is a little bit harder to quantify, but 24% attack, and generally it's about a little bit more than 200 flat attack. 200 flat attack is generally a bit more than 20% attack. So this is basically about a full substat. Generally a little bit more than that. Dragon's Bane, right, is balanced the way that weapons were balanced in 1.0, right? It's just about 3/4. So it's just not that good. On top of that, damage percent is a stat that will suck on Flins, right? I mean, that's the most important factor, really. Like, if Flins actually cared about damage percent, it would at least be usable, but he doesn't, so it will not be usable. Not usable at all. Like, it will be awful, dog shit, complete trash, right? Because, like, this is Kitane without taking into account energy, right? This is Dragon's Bane. Dragon's Bane is worse than Kitane before you take the energy into account. The main reason for that here is because since he gets so much EM externally, you would rather have high base attack, low substat on your weapon than low base attack, high substat. Why is his personal damage so low? This is not personal damage, this is effective attack. We don't know what his personal damage will be yet because we don't have his numbers. This will get multiplied by his motion value, but we don't know what the motion value is yet. What if we assume the passive works? It won't. I mean, it would be better if it did, but it won't. 100%. We know for a fact that damage percent does not affect lunar charge damage, and it is pretty clear from the way everything is written here that his main source of damage is going to be the lunar charge he gets from his burst and his mini burst. So damage percent will not be good for him. What about Inefa's weapon on Flins? Well, Flins can't create a shield, so he can't actually proc it, right? He will get the 24% attack, but he can't fulfill the condition of if the equipping character creates a shield, but he won't get this. One thing, though, is if you have this on Inefa and him on Jadewing Spear, before looking at energy changes, he does about the same damage as he would if you just got Sig for him and Inefa on another weapon. But again, we don't know yet how the energy is going to matter, right? Because he's going to be played in double Electro with Inefa, because Inefa's definitely going to be good for him. And that means that he's going to have particle generation, Inefa's going to have electro particle generation. Aino, unless she has really fucking high numbers, is probably going on Fav, and you have electro resonance. So he's probably going to have pretty good particle generation. So depending on how much energy his big bursts and his mini bursts cost, the energy from his signature might not matter that much in Inefa teams. It might be balanced so that his signature enables him in non-Inefa teams rather than it being good in Inefa teams. Like, that might be how he works. He has a mini burst. Yeah, his kid is basically just Verissa, but worse. Verissa, but less interesting. Well, okay, not really. Because based off of all of this, I expect his actual burst to be worth using. We don't have the numbers yet, so maybe it won't be, but it's at least his actual burst scales with the same stats his damage does, right? On Verissa, her actual burst doesn't fucking benefit from her signature set, which is stupid as fuck, right? It's not the only reason you don't use the burst, but it's a pretty big reason why you don't. But on Flins, his burst is lunar charge damage, which is seemingly also what his mini burst, or which is seemingly his main source of damage to begin with, right? So do we need Inefa to play Flynn? We still don't know yet. It'll depend on how good his numbers are. The better his numbers are, the less Inefa reliant he is, though, right? Kind of the same way that Yelan and Ayaka teams is better than Yelan and Skirk teams, because Skirk just has more damage, so you'd rather have buffers over damage dealers, right? And because a big portion of what Inefa Ineffa provides to the team is her personal damage, then if Flins is very, very, very strong, he'll be less Ineffa reliant. One thing I'll say though is that for dolphins or people that just have been saving for Nod Krai for months, years, or whales, Ineffa's Sig and Ineffa's C1 are both going to be noticeable increases to Flynn's damage. So Flynn's whale team is probably going to be with Ineffa, and she's probably going to be pretty important to it. Kind of like Escoffier. I think it's more than Escoffier. Because Escoffier's Sig is a lot more generic, but provides a little bit less than Ineffa's Sig does, right? Like the buff you get from 24% attack on Skirk is, well, Skirk, right, base attack is what, 359? If you consider Sig on Escoffier, you probably also have Sig on Skirk, so 674. And in her teams, right, you probably have TTDS, you have Attack Sense, you have TOM, you have Noblesse, you have her Sig weapons attack percent, which is 48, I think? I forgot. It's close to that. It doesn't matter if it's not exactly the right amount. You have about 20 in substats, probably a bit more than that, because she only cares about attack, crit, and crit, right? She doesn't care about EM or ER, so you probably end up with a little bit more attack percent in your default builds, right? Then 350, so around 3.5k attack, and then from Symphonist of Sense, it's 32, not 24, but yeah. You get 32 more, so it's about a 9% upgrade to Skirk's personal DPS. For Flynn's, 12% instead of 9. So the support weapon on Ineffa does more for Flynn's damage than the support weapon on Escoffier does in cryo carry teams. But to begin with, Escoffier is a much stronger unit than Ineffa is. But what I'm saying here is, like, there's a bigger upgrade from vertical investment on Ineffa for Flynn's teams than Escoffier for Skirk teams. In other words, because generally people that consider cons on those supports are people that also go for like early cons and SIGs on the carries, right? And you can think of these cons on supports and SIGs on support as like additional constellations if you want to keep going for stuff for your Flynn's teams, but you don't want to go all the way to C6 and have to like waste your pulls for the C4 and C5, right? Because like that's basically what C4 and C5 are. They're basically wasted pulls. Yeah, we can also talk about the usage and onslaught stuff. So Aeon Blight Drake, first of all, right? That's better than Bronze Lock. I'd much rather see Aeon Blight Drake over Bronze Lock. Bronze Lock was scary. This is a lot less scary. Wait, never mind. Attacking its weaknesses will not affect it. Oh, that means you can't knock it down. Oh no. Oh no. Chaska. I mean, even with Chaska, good luck landing your Bennett E and not having to fucking retry Bennett's E 6 times so you can use his burst. Like, even carries that can hit it are pretty much always reliant on supports that struggle to hit it. That's cooked, dude. That's so cooked. I will say, Karina doesn't struggle to hit it. Ineffa doesn't struggle to hit it. Nevilet doesn't struggle to hit it. Sucrose doesn't struggle to hit it. Maybe that's how they're bringing back reliance on Nevilet's quality of life, by making it so the enemies just fly up and you can't hit them on other characters. Oh boy. Cool. 6.0 Local Legend A will generate Hermit Seeds that explode after a short interval. If seeds take power damage, it triggers a bigger explosion and knock away characters. Upon taking any type of bloom damage, seeds will be converted and deal massive damage to enemies based on damage taken. That's so interesting, by the way. That means damage that you deal to enemies when you break the seeds is basically doubled. That's so cool. That's such a cool concept. It's cringe that it's bloom reliant, but the concept is really cool. When battle start, enemy will rise into the air and gain a shield, convert a certain number of seeds to break the shield and weaken it. That's also kind of cringe, but okay. Second Local Legend, 3 layers of shields that increase all res except Electro. Okay, dude. Electro charge and lunar charge damage is much more efficient at breaking the shield. Okay. Break all shields within a certain time to greatly decrease Electro res. Not other resistances? Oh, okay. Cool. Sure. Yeah, okay. That sounds fun. Does Hyperbloom count as bloom damage? Most likely, yes. And it says any type of bloom damage. It would probably say just bloom damage if it didn't count Hyperbloom and Burgeon. How is Ineffa in Hyperbloom? She's looking pretty good, but one thing is, I'm not sure how well she will scale with other Hyperbloom releases, right? Because the main reason Ineffa looks pretty good in the Hyperbloom is because Ineffa is just good. But if we get characters that significantly buff Hyperbloom teams through buffing Hyperbloom damage, Ineffa's teams have a lot less Hyperbloom damage, right? The reason why Ineffa is good in Hyperbloom is because the stats that she scales with in Hyperbloom teams are also the stats that increase her damage, and so she triggers less Hyperblooms, but has a lot more Talon damage to make up for that. And she will generally be better than the other Electro triggers because of her personal damage. But if they buff Hyperbloom damage over and over and over, then maybe you'd rather have a character that triggers a lot more Hyperblooms, without personal damage, right? So depending on how big Lauma's buff to Hyper Bloom damage is, you might prefer using Raiden in those Hyper Bloom teams. I'm not sure yet. So you know what would be really nice? It would be really nice if both Lauma and Flins are in phase 1, and I can get a bunch of Aino cons by going for both. That would be nice. That would be fun. Surely Hoyo would do something like that, right? It would make me happy. Are you pulling for Inefa? I'm not sure. I'll wait for Flins leaks. Craftable sword, or do we have leaks for the craftable weapons? Oh, wait, so it's not 32, it's 64 out of 5? Okay, 64 HP is a lot. Okay, maybe it is actually good then. It's good for Nilo, yeah. Farina? I suppose it's a pretty decent weapon for Farina too, but it's not better than Fav. But is Lunar Phase full brilliance? This is a shitty translation. This is going to be one of the lunar phases, either Crescent or Gibbous, probably Gibbous. So this is probably if you have 2 or more Nod Krai characters on the team, so you get an extra 16% HP. So it won't work on Farina. For Farina, it's just a like 32 HP stat stick. But I suppose that's pretty nice for people that didn't get festering. Is it better than the pipe? It might be slightly better than pipe in some situations. Can you explain what lunar phase is? Lunar phase is just how many Nod Krai characters you have on the team. And I like how Nice Old Burst has a different cooldown based on the amount of Natlan characters you have. If you have 1 Nod Krai character on the team, your lunar phase is considered Crescent Moon. And if you have 2, it's considered Gibbous Moon. Does Inefa count? Most likely, yes. It's not 100% confirmed yet, but on the Nod Krai characters, it says on their passive that it increases the lunar phase by 1. And for Inefa, here it says additionally here it says further blessings may follow the new moon's rise. In the exact same spot that on Flins's kit, it says it increases the lunar phase by 1. On Flins's kit, under his passive that increases lunar charge damage by up to 14%, it says the team's moon phase increases by 1, right? Inefa has the same passive, and here it says further blessings may follow the new moon's rise. So most likely, Inefa will have this too. But I suppose it's not 100% confirmed yet. You think the new event Claymore is going to be better than Fav on Aino? It depends on how good her numbers are, I guess. Because the new event the new event Claymore is a lot of stats, right? The passive is 120 EM and 24 flat energy. In most cases, 24 flat energy is more than the energy you get from Fab Particle. But it's only to her, not to the rest of the team. So if her damage is good enough to justify building her for damage, then maybe this much stronger effect for her personally will end up giving you more in total than the Fab effect gives you on the whole team. But I kind of doubt that will be the case. Her numbers would have to be really good for that to be the case. Bo, actually, it's probably on Reddit, right? If I can try to read it on a moving chat. Yeah, okay, it's on Reddit. Also, ER substat, low base attack, increases EM by 60 after triggering a reaction, doubled probably on Gibbous Moon. So this is 240 EM at R5. Yeah, that is a lot. But what Bo character cares about ER and EM? Sethos doesn't care about ER that much. Ilneti doesn't care about ER that much. Venti doesn't care about ER that much. Vapiolon, true. Auron also doesn't care about ER that much. Right, generally you play Auron in double electro teams, so his ER requirements are pretty low. I think right now there's no character on which this is actually good. Bloom Cole, I don't think it beats Sack. Sack is too valuable in Bloom teams for Cole. Cole just has too good synergy with Sack. No weapon lease. Do we have the third weapon yet? But yeah, like the sort of character that would want this are potential Electro Bow users in Hyper Bloom teams if you use them as triggers, so not really for Fischl. But like Auron and Hyper Bloom teams, I guess, would like this. But I really don't know about Auron Hyper Bloom. Uptime is just so ass. Dory. I mean, if it was a Claymore, it would be good for Dory, yeah. But like a bow user with a kit like Dory's would like this weapon, yeah. Because like you compare it to the EM statistics we have right now, right? On Raiden, you use Dragon's Bane. It's 221 EM. This is 240. So it's more EM than the current EM statistics. But on top of that, it also has 60% ER for free. So you can... It's basically enough EM to replace an EM weapon, but it's gonna work on high ER characters. I could see it being good on Yelan if Lauma actually revives Bloom teams. But I don't know if you'd want to use Yelana versus Singto. Singto's just so fucking good in any sort of Bloom team. There's a reason the fucking Sims for Nilo that like scored not 2 dog shit in single target all have Singto. Even the AoE ones have Singto. You need Aino for Gibbous. In your Dendro teams, you mean? Yeah. Or Inefa. Is there a new set for Inefa? There is not. Like technically kind of the new support set is is going to be good on Inefa if no one else uses it. Like, you want it on the team, but you probably would rather put it on someone else than put Inefa on, like, Gilded or some shit. Golden Troop, then no. If you put Golden Troop on Inefa, you're fucking running it the hell down. It's like putting Golden Troop on Gumming because he uses skill a lot. Like, that's cool, but his skill is not how he does damage, so it's worthless and shit. She's not like Fischl. Her damage happens when her skill is deployed, but it's not skill damage. Please tell me the Flins tweet was a joke. It was a half joke. The C6, right? It says increases Flins reaction damage from lunar charge by 30% and ulti member gain 10% increased lunar charge damage. This, if you just read it as is, this doesn't really imply that it's multiplicative. And if it's just additive, it's just 40% lunar charge damage. This is not a good C6. This is a standard level C6, so he probably is a standard character. But it's also pre-beta leaks, so usually wording is a little sus. So it's very possible that this is multiplicative. And if it is multiplicative, then it's actually a pretty good con. Does Saint-So have more apps? Saint-So's app is fucking insane. He has more than one Hydro application per sword wave, because at C6, right, he has one app from the 2 wave, then one app for the 3 wave, and then 2 apps on the 5 wave, right? The wave with 5 swords applies Hydro twice. So every 3 waves of rain swords is 4 applications of Hydro. And the technical upper limit is 18, but in practice, you're generally at around 15 waves, which is 20 Hydro apps. On top of that, his skill is 2 apps, and his orbitals also apply Hydro fairly often. His burst is more application than Yelan's burst, and on top of that, he also has orbitals that apply more Hydro than Nilo does, with full uptime on the orbitals. Like, just in terms of like Hydro application, Saint-So is by far the most in the game. He applies more Hydro than on-fielders do. Some 6.0 quality of life. You can now quickly access IT lobby via secondary menu. That's good. That's something I complained about. You have to go through like 6 loading screens to go in and out of IT. And Spiral Abyss supports team presets, which is an amazing change. You love to see it. Oh, Claymore is the same as the bow. That's good. For Claymores, this is actually useful. Last 2 craftables, Pog. Take a look. Catalyst, EM, okay, that's really nice. Increased bloom damage and lunar bloom, that's sick. You guys think that works for Hyperloom and Burgeon too? Probably not, from the way it reads. Damn, so that's pretty good, right? At R5, it's 96 bloom damage and 48 lunar bloom damage. Obviously, the lunar bloom damage is a lot more than the bloom damage. All right, Nod Krai craftable polearm. Its attack percent increase lunar charge damage by 24, 40. That's a lot. 48 lunar charge damage, that's insane, right? This was, what was this? 454? What weapon was this? Oh yeah, that was fucking Dragon's Bane. Okay. Let's compare it to Missive Windspear. New craftable. It's 510 base, 41.3. We don't have the attack percent. We don't have the EM, but EM multiplier. Yeah. It's actually meaningfully better than Missive Windspear, 4%, which is great because Missive Windspear was an event weapon. So having an actual craftable option is really nice. Wasn't it 24? It's 24 at R1, so it'll be 48 at R5. You forgot the attack? No, it's here. I copy pasted Missive stats, and Missive also has 41.3% attack. Better than Ballad of the Fjords. It is indeed, yeah. That's so funny. Wait, yeah, that's really funny. Better than Deathmatch, yup. It's not gonna be better than the Battle Pass weapons at High Refine, but it will be better than R1, seemingly. That's nice. Base attack is 850. I'm assuming Flins has around 340 base attack. I think that's a pretty reasonable assumption. You look at recently released carries. Skirk, 360. Barissa, 350. Moika, 360. Tosca, 345, 347, whatever. Kanich, 330. Vine, 340. Alicino, 340. Around 340 is pretty much what you'd expect, I think. Craftable better than 5-star stat stick for Inefa. In some situations, it will be, because the amount of energy you get from Ketane is fucking insane, right? Ketane was not balanced for 2 procs per rotation. Ketane was balanced for 1 proc per rotation, right? Which is 12 energy. That's, like, reasonable. 2 procs is 24 energy. It's a fuck ton, man. Isn't Lauma's Sig, like, low-key garbage with this craftable? I don't think so, because Lauma's Sig buffs the whole team reactions. This craftable doesn't buff the whole team's reactions, only the wearer's reactions, I think. Let me go double check. Yeah, all nearby party members. But also, this also buffs Hyperbloom, and it would appear that the craftable does not buff Hyperbloom. The calc Inefa Sig for Flins yet, it'll be dog shit. Flins can't proc Inefa Sig. He gets a 24% generic stat, but he doesn't get the lunar charge damage because you need to create a shield to get it, and Flins doesn't create a shield. Maybe if you fight an enemy with innate Geo, you can crystallize with Flins, and that counts? I don't fucking know. Probably not, dude. I don't fucking know, dude. I think that's a little too cope. Lauma good. We can't make any like confident statements on any of these characters' power yet because we're still missing too many numbers. I think it's unlikely for Lauma not to be good though, because just the things that we have mean that she'll be a pretty solid on-fielder for Hyperbloom, right? Even if all her numbers are dog shit, the things we already know is she increases Hyperbloom crit rate, right? She lets Hyperblooms crit, and they can crit for 30% added damage basically, because it's 25% to crit with 120% crit damage. And she has decent speed off-field Dendro app and is a catalyst, so she can be on-fielded. So at worst, she'll be a minor upgrade to Nahida and Hyperbloom, like in like double Hydro Hyperbloom teams. Nahida's C2. I'm not sure how it stacks yet. Like the crit rate probably just gets added, but I don't know if the crit damage gets added or overridden. And if it does get added, does the full thing get added, or does it add 50% because they're assuming that default crit is 50%, and so Nahida's effect actually brings it to 100 by doing plus 50. Nahida's C2 was changed? Was it? Is it on Hamdi Cat yet? No. Damn, cooked. It also gives Lunar Bloom reactions plus 10% crit rate and plus 20% crit damage. So does it not do anything for Hyper Bloom in teams that have Lauma? Because this doesn't say what it gives the Hyper Bloom, which means that the things it gives the Hyper Blooms probably don't change, but the thing it gives the Hyper Bloom is a set crit rate, and that's the same thing for Lauma. So which one does it choose? Do they get added? We don't know yet, right? Probably gets added. I feel like it doesn't. There's no shot it adds 20% crit rate and 100 crit damage. It probably just adds the same amount, most likely, right? Because like right now, Nahida's C2 is plus 20% DPS to Hyper Bloom, right? Because it's 20% chance to crit for double damage. And Lauma's stuff is 30%, right? Because it's 25% to crit for 120% more damage, right? So crit rate, crit damage, crit multiplier. Crit rate 25, crit damage 120, crit multiplier 1 plus this times this, right? 30% more. If it's plus 10 and plus 20, this is a 14% DPS upgrade, which is less than what she currently does by setting it to 2100 without Lauma, which I feel would be fucking cringe as hell. But if it adds the full value, it's 20 and 100, that's fucked up. That's 50% more. There's no shot it's that. I feel like the former is a little bit more likely. There's no way the crit damage stacks that way, yeah. I think it's a very unlikely as well. Just says it can stack. Yes, but you need to understand, okay? It says it can stack, but it doesn't say it adds the crit. It says it fixes it at this amount. Now, if you had another character that says it adds crit, then it's clear how that works. You just add it. But Nahida also says that it fixes the crit rate at a certain amount. So no, it is not clear how they stack. It's not clear at all. I feel like what I would expect by default is that it would not stack any crit damage, but the crit rate that you get from Nahida's C2 would get added, right? Which is pretty close to the 20% you get from Nahida by default. A little bit worse, but not too much worse. But also, if that's gonna be how it works, why the fuck would they make it so that for Lunar Bloom, it's plus 10% crit rate and 20% crit damage? Why not make it just plus 20% crit rate for everything? So I don't get it, man. I don't know. That's dumb. Is Inefa's artifact the 6.01? The support artifact set is going to be one of the options for Inefa. The carry set will not work. Thoughts about the 6.0 kit so far? I think Lauma's kit is pretty interesting. I think Aino's kit is kind of boring, but it is what it is. And I think, Flins' kit is boring as fuck. I think Flins' kit is probably the biggest disappointment here. Why? Because they're just doing the exact same thing as Versa. A character with a big burst and a mini burst that can use the mini burst but only conditionally after using their skill with a relatively long, like forced waiting period in between the mini bursts, right? With Verissa, it's through the fact that you need to activate the mini burst from the enhanced plunge, and to get the enhanced plunge, you need a non-enhanced plunge. In Flins' case, it's just directly cooldown, where you can use the mini burst more often with constellations. With Verissa, it's her C2 allowing the burst to work on the normal plunge. With Flins is reducing the cooldown. Like, to me, that's just boring as fuck. Flins' regular burst seems good compared to Verissa. That's true. Like, we don't have the numbers yet, but